think?
I think we can use this as a prime opportunity to discuss how communication in our world is probably the biggest issue with it. I'm not even kidding.
All right.
I genuinely think about that.
What, communication is the biggest issue in the world?
Yeah. Like, everyone's genuinely trying to do the same thing. Everyone who's not virtually in a cult, let's say, for reference, virtually, I'm pretty sure that everyone's generally trying to achieve a similar goal. They're just all going about it in different ways, and they can't communicate what they're thinking or feeling. And that's really what we have to try and figure out. Why can't people communicate what they're thinking and feeling properly anymore? Because this hasn't been as big of an issue in somewhat recent times.
Perhaps he's right. God damn it, you fucker.
You guys are perfectly synced in those actions.
Alright. So, any responses?
Well, first, we have to prove that communication is an issue. I'm not sure if it... I think people, probably have a problem communicating. I don't know if you mean, like, politically or, like, amongst communities. Actually, it's both.
It's all, yeah.
In communities, people are atomized. They don't know their neighbors. The other night, I was thinking about how lucky I was to have grown up in a good neighbor. Like, you know, I had neighbors. It was a poor neighborhood, but we had good neighbors, right? And just knowing your neighbors is such a... it's incredibly valuable.
It's a luxury not everyone has
It's
today.
this whole street against the world. You know what I'm saying? You get off work, you're with you have friends right next door.
Yeah. They'd help each other get the boats out of the water and shit, and all kinds of shit.
Yeah. And that's atomization, right?
Right, so
and
that's
that's
less
related to
communication.
less communication.
All right, I agree with that. So we're talking about more on a community scale right now. So what, are you basically saying that people are too scared to communicate, so they're not, like, starting that? Or why do you think that the whole neighbor thing is going downhill?
It's actually probably right. Or probably, like, we probably do have, like, we have a social trust issue today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a good logic.
Yep.
Yeah, and sometimes social trust is hard to maintain.
Yeah.
And it's probably true that when that, like, European society, like, during the Renaissance and Reformation era, was pretty high social trust. Mm-hmm. And that was how we were able to move into, like... Because think about it. In the early modern era, people started working with strangers, right?
Yeah.
That's,
It came from just individual farming, individual selling my product that I made.
We
to,
came
like,
to be
groups of people working together more. Is what you're saying.
well, we came to be an individualist society, and what that means is that people had to abandon having all their social roles be, like, family oriented and family dictated, and go and move on to a more so, like, what it means to become more individualist and more meritocratic to an extent, but in terms of personal experience, is that you go from working with people who you know by family lineage, and to just kind of working with strangers. That's kind of what it means.
Right, because you're just picking basically what you're working on, not who you're working with. You're selecting based on what you're trying to do. Like, I guess in the past, that wasn't so much of an option. You just kind of worked on what your family's history was working on, unless you really wanted to go out there and make a change. And I think the idea of, like, venturing out from your family lineage is a lot more common now than it was. So I think that makes a lot of sense. That could be one of the reasons.
Dude, the turtle's checking out the wasp and he's scared of it.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want it, it's probably not good for him, so it's good. Has he eaten anything else?
Well, there it goes. I'm nervous.
So the point is that it requires having high social trust for people to be willing to abandon, like, family ties.
He doesn't like it, man.
I mean, that might be true, and maybe that's why our society's kind of failing, because we're not having that social trust, and we are abandoning the family structures.
Yeah. And we've already, rather, abandoned.
Yeah, I mean, some people, right? You know, everyone's different, you know. I feel like the social trust is more of a measurable thing.
Dude, he's scared. This is super interesting. I'm not baked.
And you're also not listening to the conversation.
Not at all. This is extremely interesting. I'm like
Camera,
watching.
you cannot see this, but there is a turtle attempting to eat a wasp right now.
But he's scared of it because his epigenetics have taught him that the color yellow is poison. I'm gonna pick it out. I don't want him to fucking balloon up and die.
Yeah.
We Google it and supposedly they can eat wasps.
Why there's a wasp in the house? We don't know.
Continue having your conversation.
Okay. So another like aspect of communication we could probably touch on is just friendships and like relationships that people are trying to build, right? I find a lot of people don't necessarily bond over similar traits they have with other people, but they bond over things that they don't like. And that just seems like a more negative way of going about this. And it seems like that's maybe because of the lack of trust, so they can just relate to like more of an instinctual like thing. And they're just like, oh, we're slightly similar in this weird little way. Whereas before that wouldn't have even been said. Before you would have like, you know, just kind of existed in a more similar manner. Where you weren't always just constantly trying to find a small thing that's similar with, you know, another person.
I did not get that.
Okay.
It was a little, yeah.
Alright, I'll try and explain it in a different way. So, like, it seems like, you know, people, especially in, like, school, let's say, or a workplace,
yeah.
You know, a place where there's a gathering of different people all trying to accomplish the same goal. In that kind of situation, you know, people who already kind of knew each other wouldn't, like, constantly be seeking these small bits of, like, oh, we're somewhat similar people. Because, you know, when you're in a community, you know, you're talking about stuff, and this is kind of a hard point to try and explain because I've never really tried to articulate it before. But, like, you know, people will just bond over, yeah, this day sucks, you know, or something along those lines. And, you know, when they bond over little stuff like that, that's kind of sad because that's not really a bond. That's just a human thing that everyone has, yet people are trying to bond over that. And it doesn't really equate to anything because it doesn't really mean you're similar. It just means you're human.
So is what you're saying, people atomize themselves by using small talk to try and fit in? And then
basically people are relying on small talk, if anything.
Yeah, 100%. And then you never really know your friends.
Exactly.
Horrible.
And it's not even that they're even your friends, it's just the people you're spending the most time with. You know, the 5 people you spend the most time with in your life make you up to an extent. So
100%.
It's pretty important to think about that. If you're just, like, some of those are atomized relationships with the 5 people you're closest with, that's really dangerous for a psyche.
Yeah.
Because that's not based on reality.
Yep. That's bizarre.
Yeah.
You know what that reminds me of? So what that means is we're both we're socially overwhelmed, but also we're getting nothing out of it. It's like this weird trick.
Yeah.
That reminds me of how everyone in America is fat and full, but lacking basic nutrition and water.
Yeah.
Because it's all junk food. So peasants used to revolt if they starved.
Right.
But kings would want to keep them starving because they're weak and stupid. So they figured out if they don't starve, they won't revolt. But we can keep them so dehydrated and lacking nutrition, they're still weak and stupid.
Right, so just
That's
feeding us
junk
not
food.
good food.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we're eating it, it's cheap, it's acquirable.
And the same way we're over socialized through our phones, but none of the relationships are real and everything's phony.
Yeah, so the phones are another huge aspect that you brought into this. I think that's a valid point. Because we're told it's social media, but social media is more of just a news platform where you can also communicate with other people. Because at the end of the day, it's more news than anything. It's just like a magazine, you know, like to an extent.
Uh-huh.
This kind of reminds me of the not overused and over-applied concept of Baudrillard's simulacra, where Baudrillard believes that modern neoliberal society sort of exists in a state where of creating of creating.
You're so distracted, Jesus, Ben.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I can't think of the word. Of creating. You gotta stop doing that. You're making too many angry looks. Like when I spit out my gum, like you glared at me, and that was kind of weird. Not good on the podcast.
I didn't glare at you.
You went. It was weird.
I didn't see him make the face, but
It'll be on the video.
I mean, okay. Nicer looks, Dad. Nicer looks.
What were you talking about, dude?
Well, anyway, Beauregard had this. I'm trying to remember what he called it. I think he used the term pastiche. Yeah, I think that's what he said.
Okay.
Pastiche.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is still recording.
For us?
Yeah, it's still recording. Okay. Yep.
All right. What about Beauregard?
Is that he basically said, like, modern neoliberal society creates signs that have no meaning attached to them.
Memes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because symbolism was a huge thing in the past. Huge thing. Symbols meant a lot more to people.
So Beauregard says, like, signs are things which represent other things.
Are we assuming a sign and a symbol is a similar thing here?
Basically.
Are we defining it differently? Okay.
And then a simulacra is a sign which loses its meaning and just exists for its own sake.
Simulacra? Is that how you said that?
Simulacra.
Simulacra, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, I would say that definitely is an issue. It's a well-articulated way of putting it.
It's just what I think about when you talk about, like, we exist in a society where people eat food that has no nutritional value, and have engage in relationships that have no emotional value.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess relationships that have no emotional value is the best way we've put this so far, right?
That's what sex is nowadays. It's fucking horrible.
Yeah, it's
like
not like a spiritual.
People just use each other for their bodies. It's crazy.
It definitely wasn't its designed purpose.
Yeah. It's fucked.
All sacred things are getting trashed.
No, sex is sacred. I don't get it. Like, literally, like, it started off with guys started getting away from the church and they started using women for their bodies. And now the women are. And it's, like, worse. They're, like, it's really evil. They're very, objectifying.
Yeah, I mean, Muslims are certainly onto something with covering up women, They are onto something, And I'm not...
Yep.
I'm not
no, I don't believe in burqas,
Muslim.
but I don't believe in walking around in a thong either.
Exactly. I'm just saying they're onto something.
In fact, I'd rather thong or burqa.
Exactly. Like,
honestly.
Taking burqa, like...
Honestly, burqa.
Right, I mean, like, it's just... Look, I mean, I'm not Muslim, so I'm probably not dating a Muslim girl, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I don't think I could date a girl in a burqa, actually.
Right. That's not our point. But our point is neither are good options.
That's nuts. How do you fucking pick a girl?
Well, you take the burqa off, not in public.
Yeah, but don't you have to wait till... Is that how it works? Or do you have to wait till
marriage? I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Okay, if you have to wait till marriage...
That's not a thing.
That's insane.
No. I mean, you think all Muslims are not fucking before they're married. They're not doing that.
Yeah.
They're not doing that.
They might be.
They might be, but they're not doing that.
Do you think, like, early Christian... Like, how long do you think early Christians were willing to wait?
Probably a long time. Like,
History
during,
lies.
like... That's when all those great love stories were written. When
They were
people
all written
waited.
in 24 hours. Like Romeo and Juliet. The story was 24 hours.
It's like 48 or something short like that.
Right,
Yeah.
It's really short. So time was just completely different then.
What do you mean?
Like, the way people experienced time in the past was completely different than it is now. Time is completely relative,
All right, before we get to that, I would like to make the point that it's interesting that all those love stories we, like, idolize were written back in a time when everyone would wait. It makes it mean something.
Well, yeah.
To an extent, we don't know if they waited. We weren't there.
We don't know if they waited.
They were definitely more religious than we are. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Probably.
I mean, once, like, a girl's out of high school, body count of minimum 5, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's really bad.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, the legal sex age of 18 is pretty interesting. Not every country has that, too. Which is no, it's just a generally interesting topic. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? We're talking about high school.
Though.
It sounds funny, yeah, but it doesn't have to.
Pretty interesting.
Well, no, it is because
no, I get it.
Like,
sure.
It's a topic people have discussed for a while. It's like in other countries, it's literally 15, and that's kind of weird. It's really weird if you told an American that's okay.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
But other places, that's like totally.
I remember
like how
from
it
a
is.
throwaway joke in Archer that it's 14 in Germany.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Germany, it's 14.
Yeah.
You also drink at 14.
You also drink at 14.
14?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Seems a bad idea to put those two together, doesn't it?
Yes, it's a terrible idea. That's why Germany is not a good country.
Yeah, the Archer joke was, what is it? Then Archer says, what is it? What is it, the Alabama of Europe?
Yeah. Alright, do we have anything else to talk about on this topic?
We've made some interesting points.
The legal age in Rome was 12.
Not that topic, Jesus Christ. Okay. I think it's important that we touched on the concept that people have relationships with no real value and eat food with no real value. It's being like stolen from us. And you work for money that has no value.
Yeah.
The only value left in the West is influence.
Yeah, that we've definitely explained that, I think. Influence is really...
It's very important that people listening understand that so you can plan your future out better. Because if you try and plan a future working for the American dollar, the likelihood it's valueless soon is pretty high.
It's very possible.
But if you have influence, you'll be fine. And, that's scary because our parents don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, going to college and getting a job just to try and survive in the matrix doesn't seem like a great option like it did 10 years ago. 10 years ago you could work 35, 40 hours a week after you got a degree and just kind of chill.
Yeah.
That was an option. And you were institutionalized and you didn't have as much freedom, but to an extent it was a trade-off people were willing to make even when they were explaining how it worked.
Because you did get freedom of like actual wealth and time.
Not actual wealth, but time. Because you
Yeah,
never
sure.
get actual wealth, let's be honest. If you follow the college system, you're probably not getting actual wealth unless you're a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah, you're
Just be based on a
taking-
debt
you're just-
system and
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
have a family by the
You're
time
actually
you're 30.
just taking on debt to replace your inability to think with like an organization's ability to think for you
Yes.
and do their path.
Yes. Yeah.
That's actually terrifying.
It's pretty terrifying, but the craziest part is before it wasn't necessarily a dishonest, like, horrible option for most people. That's the thing. Is it made sense. You could have a family, you could have a little extra money to spend, you could take your family on vacation.
It just makes no
You get a
sense.
401k, and you'd be fine your whole life. The system was set up to where
Yeah.
you would be fine your whole life, and you could have a family by the time you're 30. Which, it's not the best option, but if you consider how bad history has been, that's not a bad option. But the point is that system that they've created isn't going to last anymore. It genuinely isn't. What do you guys think of that?
You're right.
It's pretty tragic that, like, the sort of system we were kind of, like, promised coming into America is kind of not so much a reality.
Coming into America, do you mean us coming into America?
Yeah,
growing
like
up
a
as
new
adults?
generation.
Yeah, I agree completely, because that isn't
That's a
what it
good
is.
way of putting it. It is tragic that this generation cannot trust like the system we inherited.
Yeah, right. Because, like, you know, the whole, like, the whole plan for how sort of life is going to go, which we've more or less relied upon in the latter half of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Just it isn't really a truth in the modern day, and we know it's not a truth. It's like if you get a college job, you better prepare yourself for some fucking 60-hour weeks. You know what I mean? You go to college and get a job
just to still be in debt.
Right.
It's insane.
I definitely agree. I mean,
And the colleges are just an extension of the banks. They're not actual institutions.
No, I mean what I mean by that is like how most the college graduate workers will also end up working 60-hour weeks.
Yeah.
Just like competing with it. That kind of like
if they want to try and become successful.
yeah.
40-hour work week was already holding people back to not being able to think because you're always constantly in like a survival mindset.
100%.
And it doesn't pay the bills anymore. You have to work overtime.
It's true.
No matter what. I mean, if you go and get a college degree, you're going to be in debt. So you have to work overtime.
Right.
And if you don't and you just cut down trees or whatever like I do, you get paid, not enough to not have to. You're gonna have to work overtime anyways, or you're fired.
Yeah. Right. I mean, we're basically saying that there's not really a good opportunity to raise a family with a regular situation. You just don't make enough money to raise a family anymore with a regular job, and that hasn't been the case in a while.
So
that's a genuine issue.
Yeah, and then so 2 people have to work, and already the man had lost like stake in the household because he was gone, just like back when the woman stayed at home, and it led to this thing where the woman had too much power and it like got lopsided because he had less, like almost no influence over the kid because he's not home.
Exactly.
And now not only is the man not home, the woman's not home. And the kids raised by the internet and the school system, which we know are both horribly, ideologically, possessed entities. I mean, the school system's liberal as hell, and the internet is porn. The internet is porn all the way through. Social media is just like for porn, and then like hardcore porn, and you got YouTube.
Yeah.
Like
maybe find something decent on there if you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
That's the only social media that isn't just like softcore porn at this point.
Yeah, it actually is. I mean, Twitter allows real porn, so it's pretty ridiculous.
I know. Social media is literally just softcore porn. Like Snapchat, softcore porn. Instagram, softcore porn.
TikTok, even worse.
Hardcore porn. Of underage.
TikTok's pretty
underage,
terrible.
Borderline hardcore porn.
TikTok's just actually softcore porn.
I know.
So is Instagram and Snapchat.
Instagram's like it's.
No, it's Ben. Shut the fuck up.
God damn it!
What?
You're clearly speaking on something you don't know about.
Yeah, you don't know about. Instagram is softcore porn. Shut up. So Snapchat.
Instagram's almost dating app version of porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Snapchat is just receive porn. It's
just
terrible.
receive porn.
It's receive porn. It's not.
It's just go on because you're bored and try and.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of people just use it to text their friends and do that shit. But the problem is, it's in the same location. So it's like, you know what I mean?
You shouldn't. Yeah, for real.
It's a genuinely bad thing because everyone uses Snap to just text their friend. It just makes more sense because all the names are right there. You just swipe.
Now it's got the TikTok on the right. And that just triggers you into
spotlights.
Yeah, then that gets you, like, the algorithm just sucks you into porn.
Yeah.
Like, it's disgusting.
It is very disgusting.
I feel like we're not talking about, like, interesting things. We're just ranting at the camera.
We're stating important things.
No, listen to me. Don't.
Why is he arguing on the podcast? All right.
Yeah, I'm going to have to cut this out now, but I'm just saying it because I feel like we're not making good material here.
All right, then say something interesting, dude. Thought that was good.
I mean, we go on and we say the same thing every time. We gotta talk about interesting stuff. I feel like we're just being ideologues.
We've never said this.
All right, then say something interesting. You know. I gotta talk to you later.
All right, we'll do it right after this.
Yep. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
So, what do you think about what we said, Ben? All right. Did you know that? So you know how Mars is supposed to be like the sister planet to Earth?
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about more the theory that it used to be more Earth-like, or because a lot of scientists genuinely think
yes,
that.
And because it orbits as close to the sun as, or like close enough to the sun as we do, that it theoretically could have sustained life and all this shit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it is possible that it could have had life and potentially intelligent life at one point?
I think it's definitely possible.
Ben, do you think it is possible?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's possible that it could have had life. I don't think, there's not really any evidence for intelligent life, but,
All right, well, here's the next thing going down that train of logic, is did you know that Mars has some element on it? I was listening to Joe Rogan.
I've seen the clip.
Yeah, was it Posty?
Yeah, it was Posty.
Yeah. What element is that? It's something goofy, like
it's basically the nuclear
Xeron
fallout
or some
element.
shit.
Yeah, it started with a Z.
It's this element that is created from nuclear fallout. So theoretically,
Xenon.
It's
Xenon, yeah.
It's in the soil
It's xenon.
on Mars.
It's in the soil on Mars. So theoretically, Mars could have had like humans, and they could have nuked themselves.
I guess. Noble gases, though, they also, like, they get created by the sun, right?
Yeah.
Right. We're not saying it's
Or like the
proven,
core of
but-
Mars or something.
Or the core of Mars, yeah. So it's interesting, but
It is.
it's a reasonably heavy compound, you know, so that's something. It's,
Yeah.
you know, like, in general, the heavier the... Well, I want to say the heavier the compound, the more it needs to be artificial, but it could also just have to do with the, like, the density of the planet. I have to blow my nose again.
Go for it.
So, like, you get, like, iron and shit in Earth because it's big and dense, it can push stuff together, whereas the sun doesn't produce iron because it's too light and spread out.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
For real. Not before pods. So what were you saying? Something about the density of xenon or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, you know, generally, like, when you get to very dense elements, they tend to not be able to be produced, like, naturally. They have to be made artificially. But uranium's also pretty dense, and it occurs naturally.
Gotcha.
But, like...
Still interesting.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is the odds of that forming naturally are not super high.
Not as high as if it were, like, helium or...
Right.
Yeah, obviously. And then what do you think?
You dick.
The odds of xenon are not quite as likely as the odds of oxygen. Don't know if you could have deduced that.
Well, obviously you could deduce that.
By helium supernovae. Anyways, so what do you think is more likely, that there was intelligent life that created xenon through nuclear reactors, or the sun? Probably the sun.
The sun's more likely by
probably.
default.
The sun is
So
The
does an
question
atom.
is there xenon in the other planets? Because if there's not, then I would assume Mars.
I don't know.
Yeah, we would even want to test the closer planets, but we
Yeah.
haven't been there.
What's the one in front of us? Mars?
We've been there. No, Mars is behind us.
What's the one in front of
I
us?
think you're talking about Venus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Venus? Oh, behind Mars?
I don't know the planets. What's the order of the planets?
Mercury.
Venus, Earth, Mars,
Gotcha.
Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto.
No, I meant
Pluto
Venus.
ain't no planet no more.
Pluto's a planet. I'm with Jerry.
At me.
I'm
So
actually
how
with
is
Jerry.
it shrinking? How does that work? Do you know off the top of your head?
Not a scale.
What?
Pluto's shrinking, right? So how does that work? Do you know off the
Is
top of your
Pluto
head?
shrinking?
I knew at one point. Yeah, that's why it's not a planet. So like, that's
not
my
a-
thing. So is it like releasing gases, or like I'm not
I
sure
don't
how
think
it's.
Pluto's shrinking, dude.
It might not be, but they declassified it. They said it's not
Really?
a planet. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll come back next
Yeah, they
pod
made
with
it a
more
dwarf.
info. I'll do some Pluto research. I used to know about this like 10 years ago, but like I just haven't thought about
some
Pluto in a
Pluto
while. Who thinks about Pluto?
No, I think they just made it a dwarf. I think they just said it was like, I think they discovered like other planets that were closer to Pluto's size, and they called those dwarf planets.
Yeah, I think
So
Ben's
they
right. I don't think
renamed
Pluto's
Pluto
is shrinking.
I don't know. I could be tripping. I don't know. But I know they
Think
declassified it as a planet. I did know that.
All right.
Because there's like other dwarf planets in the solar system, you know?
Yeah,
that?
there is. It's not just the big 8 or whatever.
Like, that's weird. Like, there's more planets than, you know, we talk about.
Yeah, well, they're far away and small.
Yeah.
They're small and far.
Small and far. Useless. Not a close enough celestial body.
Ben, do you have anything to talk about?
Let's see.
Damn, I have no good notes.
I do, but I gotta wait till I think of it. Till I think of it first.
Oh.
All right, let me think.
Damn, yeah, we've all just been going through sickness for the past week. We haven't
No, we
done
all
shit.
got sick, dude.
No,
Everyone got
yeah.
sick. It's the Illuminati for sure.
Yeah.
Did you know that they are now have put vaccines in mosquitoes in Florida?
That's really bad.
Yeah. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know
Ben,
that.
this is clearly the direction our podcast is always going, and you always stop it. Why?
Yeah.
Let's just discuss this on pod. It's interesting. Like, generally, let's just have the conversation. Who cares? If you want to edit something out, edit it out. But
No, because it's very simple. It's like this. Landon and I kind of have overlapping, like, echo chambers. You know what I mean?
And so do me and G-Man. Got it. You're stoned. Don't care. What do you think about it?
what?
Gaetano wants to know. Well, the reason is because I feel like
Me and Gaetano do the same echo chambers. I get it.
yeah, you do the same echo chambers, but I feel like you're not pushing yourselves. Like I feel like you
Okay,
guys
so that's
will
why
just,
we're asking for your input, bro.
Yeah, like, argue
well,
with
it's
us.
not. It's okay.
Push
So
us.
in terms of that, it's not very useful for you to just like quote something that I've never heard of before because I can't really do anything with that.
Ben,
you
that's
know
a
what I
fact.
mean?
It's been on Rogan, Alex Jones. It's on the internet. It's a fact. RFK is talking about it. Fact. Bill Gates is talking about it. He's the one doing it. Fact.
All right. Does me responding to something I haven't heard of actually help break any echo chambers?
All right.
Your entire goal should not be to break our echo chambers 24/7. Your goal should be to try and
goal
understand
should be
information.
Please, I can't do it. Ben,
It's not information. It's just a claim.
it's a fact. That's information, Ben. See, Ben's brainwashed. He actually gets triggered by these stuff. That's a fact. You can look into it, but assume I'm right that they're putting. I mean, they're saying it. Assume I'm right. What do you think?
No, because it's not useful. And I'm very.
You need to just always have a
convicted
laptop
about
set
this
up here
right
to
now.
Google things.
Dude, at this point, everything Ben's going to say, I'm just going to go, I'm unaware of this. And therefore.
I'm very convicted of this right now, and that is that,
Speak on it.
like, and what I'm very convicted of is that we have to be, the goal is that it's just not good. It doesn't create good dialogue for me to just assume your point.
Try that one.
All right, I want to try this.
That's fine.
All right, I don't care, Ben. Sorry. All right, did you know that a top rocket scientist in Florida, who I can't remember the name of, but I wish I did, of the 50s and 60s was an open Satanist, worshiped the devil? Fact.
Man, can we go anywhere with that? You know what I mean?
Dude, you shouldn't
Ben,
have to
try.
always be
Holy
searching
shit.
for a logical point to teach somebody. You can always just discuss cool ideas.
It's not a cool idea.
Why not?
Ben, you're like brain.
I'm gonna blow my nose. No,
Okay,
I'm
go
not.
blow your nose, bro. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it kind of sucks that I have to keep blowing my nose.
Just bring the
He's
tissues
baked.
over.
He can't handle weed. We just can't get him out of it. Yeah, bring the tissues over.
It does something useful for me to walk over here, and
Okay.
that is that it makes it very obvious when I have to clip out my mic when I blow my nose.
So here's the thing: is some people, Gaetano, get triggered when facts distort their worldview,
No, you don't say.
and it's a fact. Those two things are facts, but because they're disturbing his worldview, it's actually hard to take in information.
Oh,
that
that's
shatters
so
their worldview.
irritating. I have a
Sure it
reason
is.
for being irritated by what you're saying. Don't tell
I
me
know
what
your
I'm
reason.
feeling.
Your reason isn't logical.
No, my reason is that I don't believe you're saying something. I don't believe you're trying to bring up a topic that can create good dialogue. I think you're trying to bring up a topic that's
Okay. Mad about the fake future.
You're just not interacting with our idea. You're just shooting it down for some reason.
Come on, you're putting forward ideas that you think I'm going to shoot down.
No, we're not. We don't
Ben.
think
We're
like that,
not.
Ben.
Yeah, he's mad about the fake future.
Ben, we do not think like that.
I don't think that's true. I think Ted does think like that, even if he's not aware of it.
Okay, Ben, what do you think about what we said, dude? This is insane, dude. You can't be this autistic. We have to have a podcast. You can't be retarded.
I'm just trying to be honest about the quality of the podcast is all.
Ben, you're baked. It's going fine. You're the only one being retarded right now.
As of right now, our idea is to work on quantity to improve quality. If we can record an hour,
Right now we're just
4 to
working the
5
muscle.
times a week, that takes 5 hours a week.
But
That's not that much
that's a
time.
bit of a flawed bit of logic because the truth is, the quantity to improve quality isn't that
I
great
can't-
if we don't
We'll
have.
talk about
serious
this point, but not the other point.
I know,
Jesus Christ.